Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I am starting. Just a little late. Welcome back. I took a couple of days off. Y'all know how I got to get my get right before I get back on here and say hey to everybody. Just want to say hey, everyone. I just want everyone to know that everything's been going good with me. It was freezing today. Yes, it was freezing today. Last I talked to you guys, I think did I do it? Yeah, I did. I did do one after my aunt, being my special guest. But yeah, just wanted to reach out and just just say hey to everyone and let everyone know that I am doing the best that I possibly can in everything, even in this cold. It is cold for real here in Michigan. I'm and the funny thing is, I realized in Utah it had snow and it got cold, but it wasn't this cold. It was cold. I had a job interview today and it went well. Everything, all my job interviews go well, but it went well. And this is one that I'm leaning on, hoping I really get it. The guy was amazing. The interviewer was truly, he was really cool and everything. It was like, it wasn't even like an interview. It was like us talking to each other, getting to know each other, and I like that. Also, it's downtown and it's a full service hotel, so it's a little different from what I'm used to. I'm used to, you know, not full service hotels. When somebody needs something, I leave the desk and go take it to them. But we're able to, call the housekeeping for that and maintenance for whatever. So it's going to be a task, and y'all know that I am looking for overnights, and it is an overnight position. So, and it's different from any other overnight position I ever had, because usually when I work overnight, I usually work by myself. That's it. This here is overnight where it'll be three people on, so which would be kind of good. You know what I'm saying? Because you're able to navigate and able to you ain't got to focus on everything. You got help on both sides. So that sounds good. Oh, excuse me. And everything. So I wanted to talk to you. You know what I really wanted to really do today. I just wanted to come in for a bit and just kind of go through how how you how you assume things are going to go, and then they go different because they do. You know, the other day, me and my husband was sitting at home, and we were just, you know, we were watching TV. We were watching TV. We were watching TV, and I get a message on Messenger from my father. So I go and I look at it, and it's one of those little things. You know how how you send people messages, and there's somebody on there talking, and it was saying, you should always, respect your parents because they may not be here, and don't don't blame them because they only did the best that they possibly could, and don't compare them to other people. It was a really deep thing, and it was really nice and everything. And he said, and it says, show your parents that you love them and all this kind of stuff. And so as soon as as soon as I listened to it, I looked at my husband, and I said they sent this because they want me to call. Instead of texting, say, hey, would you call me so we could talk? they they actually said that. I think I said they want me to call. So I called and everything. As soon as I called them, they was like, we knew you was gonna call. I said, cause I know the assignment, okay? And it was so funny because that was one of the best conversations I had with my mother in a long time. And I can honestly say it was great. It was amazing, She was warm. She was funny. She was, you know, it was just, you know, she wasn't judgmental. She wasn't, you know, irritating. She was not. She was none of that. She was just happy, you know, to talk, and it was so great, you know, to feel that and to be a part of it. It was just, it was so amazing. I was so shocked, and I was so happy, and I'm so blessed, and it was just great and everything. So I'm looking forward to that relationship, and see, and they'll trick me every time. They'll trick me every time. They'll give me this good part, and the next time I call it be, you know what I'm saying? Everything. So I'm like, please, 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 please keep this. You know what I'm saying? And I'm hoping and I'm praying that they are. And so my husband and I, when we went out this morning and stuff, and we was at the mall, because we got these fire extinguishers in our house. I ordered some fire extinguishers, and they're cute little fire extinguishers. I got one in the hallway and one in the kitchen, just in case something happened. We're able to, especially, you know, with my dogs, I go through the fire, but if I got an extinguisher, that would help. And everything. So, and I was looking at myself, oh, and I asked William, because he's over my parents' house way more than I am. And so I asked him, I said, do they have a fire extinguisher? And he was like, I ain't never seen one. I said, he don't even looking around their house no way like that. You know, I'm not the one to be looking to see, you know, what they got and what they need and stuff. And he does too, but he just in a different way. And so we was out, and I was thinking about it. And when I think about something, I have to call. I have to call. If I call you, it's because it's something on my mind that I need to tell you, and and I don't want to try to remember it later. So that's when I call people. I don't call people just, you know, like, hey, you know, let's talk, you know, or something like that. I usually call people because it's something that I want to discuss with them, you know, because I forget. I sure will. I don't care how important I say it is or how important I feel it is. I will forget if I don't talk to you when it's on my mind, you know. So you know, that's why I gotta get frustrated, you know, because I'm one of those people. I really am. I can honestly say I am one of those people that if you call me in the middle of the night, I'm gonna roll over and answer the phone. I am. I'm going to do that because I believe if you're calling me about something important. I'm talking people who I love, people who I, you know, have a relationship with, and it's only a few. So if they call me late at night, I know it's something important, and so, you know, so I would answer. There's nowhere in the world I would just let the phone ring and call back a couple of hours later and say, hey, what you call me for? Because they be dead. You know what I'm saying? So, and so, you know, and I know if I call somebody that late, it's because of something important. So, but anyway, so like I said, you know, we called them to find out if they had fire extinguishers and stuff, and they don't. So I'm gonna order some as soon as I get off here with y'all. I'm gonna order them a set as well, because they are the cutest little things ever, and it's always good to have. It really is. And so, oh, excuse me, I am exhausted. Yesterday I did oh, my eye is itching. Yesterday my whole day was about my soap operas, Housewives of Potomac, Housewives of Salt Lake City. Had to catch up on all of them. Then we even did the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. We got William and I stopped it. I think it was the second one. We got a couple more to do of those. So as soon as I get off here, I'll finish watching those with my husband and everything. And so, but it's cold. It is, and like I said, you know, I'm so glad. I am. Y'all just don't know. It's, you know, the relationship that I have with my mother is so weird. It is. It is. Sometimes I can't stand her, and sometimes I just want that, you know, that relationship. You know what I'm saying? And I think that I can't stand her because it's like sometimes you don't want to give it to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, ah, and I'm like, you know, I don't know. You know, I ain't the perfect child, honey. Shit, I got issues going on in my head and my mind, so it's not like I'm the perfect, you know, person to say anything. You know, a lot of times, you know, my husband be like, I love my dad. I'm like, I do too. I just don't want to be bothered with him as much as you do. but I did. Like I said, I had such a great talk. It was like, it was so refreshing. It was so, you know, it was super great. Let me hear people outside. Let's be great. Everybody in the house smoke. Oh, I know that house stank. Everybody in the house be smoking, honey. I swear, every time I look over there, somebody got a cigarette in their mouth. I'm like, ugh. Asked William, I said, whew, when I smoked, was it that bad? And you know, cause you really, I don't think people really notice when they're doing something, and then when they stop doing it, and then they see other people doing it, and it kind of aggravate them, and that's kind of crazy. Think about it. It's kind of crazy because this is something you used to do. You used to do. I don't hate the smell of cigarettes. I really don't. It I hate the smell of a person who smoke outside and then come inside. That stank to me. And I asked William, I asked him, I said, did I used to smell like that? And we told me, no. I was like, oh, please, I smoked outside and brought my ass in the house. I did. You know, I'm simply, told me, no, you didn't. Okay, I'm not that. I'm not that. You know what I'm saying? He had me thinking that. And so, but anyway. I'm like, yeah, I smelled like that. And people, ain't nobody ever tell me. It ain't like I'm telling people, oh my God, you stink. Okay, I ain't. So I doubt if anybody would have told me that. They wouldn't tell me that because they didn't want to hear my mouth. Be like, it's you stink, you know. Or anything. But yeah. So this week, it's the beginning of the week. I am so excited. I hope everything. Oh, I'm exhausted too. I'm hoping everything go the way I'm planning, but I'm giving it to God and I'm allowing Him to do what He does, and He does right by me. So I'm not worried about it. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's not. You know, It's not that. You know, I could think of, and I was thinking about this. I could think of a time when I first moved to Vegas, and when I had a job, and when I, you know, probably quit a job or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I used to work when I was in Vegas. I had a job, and we used to sell. We used to get on the phone and use a yellow page and white page book and call these people and sell and try to sell them, different companies and stuff, and try to sell them business cards with magnetic things on the thing and ink pens and stuff like that. And it was for $4.99. You know, you get so much. And I remember, and I was grinding and everything, and I remember quitting the job because, one day they came and they opened the back door And they was because we was back there, they opened the back door. Next time we keeping this back door cracked. So if y'all hear anybody running in the front, y'all run out the back. And this was in Vegas, and I'm sitting up here like, okay, this is some Detroit shit. You know what I'm saying? I was like, and I went in there and I asked boss, I said, what's going on? He's like, oh, you know, it's people doing a bunch of fraud and they trying to say that we is and stuff. I said, so why is we running? You know what I'm saying? Don't tell me to run. You know, you know what I'm saying? So for a couple of weeks, I stuck around there. Took my shoes off, had them beside the desk in case they did come, because I run better flat-footed anyway. And I just realized, you know, that I was doing something wrong. I figured I was doing something wrong. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even gonna lie, I figured I was doing something wrong. And so, and I said, you know, I'm not gonna do this. I'm blocking blessings. You know what I'm saying? And you know, that's what I felt. I was blocking blessings by doing this no good stuff. So I quit. And when I quit, my rent was still, you know what I'm saying? I had enough money for my rent and all of that. But next month, you know what I'm saying? I got bills, you know what I'm saying? So when I went on job interviews, I noticed I was presenting myself like I was desperate, which I was, you know what I'm saying? But I was presenting myself like I was desperate. And you know, didn't nobody want nobody desperate in their businesses. You know what I'm saying? And I was presenting myself like I was desperate. And then I realized, I said, I'm going up in these places like I need this. And I was like, you do need it. Okay, your rent gonna be due in a minute. And I was like, I was single. I knew enough men to come up with the rent. so once I realized that, truthfully, look at me, seriously. Once I realized that, I was like, I ain't got to be desperate. I got a couple of months. I can get them to take care of for a couple of months. You know what I'm saying? You know, I have to visit with them a little bit longer. But I get it. And so once I you know, started going in with not that desperate look and feel no more, you know, people start wanting it. You know what I'm saying? People start wanting me. They're like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? I was like, well, you know what? You know, let me know. You know, because I am doing 2 more interviews today, and I'm not sure which one I want to take, but you know, you guys are high on my list, so please let me know. Swear to God, one interview, I actually called my sister. I was going on an interview. I said, watch this. And she was on the phone. I had her on the phone. I had my phone closed like this, and she was on it. And I sat it down. And I said, hey there, and we was talking and everything. And I said, okay. And they was talking, and they was, you know, asking me questions and everything. I said, okay, so now it's my turn to ask you guys, you know, what I need to ask you guys. And so I switched the interview around and everything. And so after that, after we talked and everything, and they said, well, they said, okay, we'll give you a call in a couple of days. And I said, oh, excuse me. It's like, we'll give you a call in a couple of, I said, oh, no. I said, no. I said, I'm sorry. I don't work for companies that are not smart. And he was, and they, because it was a few of them, and he was like, what do you mean? I was like, if you let me walk out that door without locking me down in this job, y'all ain't smart. See, y'all really ain't. So I don't see myself, you know, working for anyone that ain't got that much sense. You know what I'm saying? They looked at each other, they excused us, and they walked out and stuff. And my sister said, okay, I'm talking, I put on the phone. I said, no, you see, they trying to tell me a couple of days. She said, their jobs do that. I was like, I don't care. They don't do it for me. And everything. She's like, you crazy. You know you ain't got this job. I was like, child. They came back in, and they was like, well, can you start immediately? I said, yes, most definitely. And they hired me on the spot. My sister was so throwback. She was toe up. She was like, she couldn't believe it. And then it was so funny though. It was so funny. And I was supposed to start in a couple of days. And the day I was supposed to start, the day before I was supposed to start, they called me and they said, well, we did a background check and we see that you got a jaywalking ticket. I said, jaywalking? I said, yeah, because I was in Vegas. I got a damn jaywalk. She, oh my God, that's another story. But I said, yeah, I got a jaywalking ticket. And they said, oh, we can't hire you. I was through. Do you hear me? I called my sister. I was cussing. I was fussing. I said, geez, dirty dog. And she was like, honey, she said, you got to realize that wasn't for you. Okay? Because if it was for you, could nobody take it from you. It wasn't for you. Move on. It's something better that's coming on. And that was true. And it was true. And I had to learn that then. I said, you know what? I talked it up. But God seen that it wasn't going to be something that I need. So, saying all that, I understand a lot of places, especially if I put in for the job, a lot of places I see myself, going to, or seeing myself wanting to be in. And then when it falls through, or they don't choose me, or something like that, and it kind of hurt my feelings. It really hurt my feelings, especially if I go on an interview and they meet me and they choose not to. I think they're so stupid. You know what I'm saying? But I was watching what, Housewives of Potomac, and Ashley she dumped her little boyfriend, and I said he dodged a bullet. You know what I'm saying? Knowing, and I said, so, them not, getting me probably was a bullet. It was a bullet that I dodged. So I can't be mad. You know what I'm saying? I sure can't. It's like, I ain't gonna be mad. Cause God He has blessed me so much, and He has given me so much that, everything else is just extra. And I appreciate that. And like I said, I don't treat my extra like it's extra. I treat my extra like it's worthy of that. You know what I'm saying? It's something that I don't need to work, but if I am going to work, I'm going to give it 110%. I promise you, I'm going to give it 110% if I go to work. Once I step outside my door and I go to a job, I give it 110% because that's something that my character. It's just who I am. It's just who I am. I'm going to give 110%. And the person next to me need the job because they rent gonna be due and all of that, everything I don't have to, deal with right now, but they'll be, and they do, and they'll act like they don't need the job, and I'll be acting like I need it. You know what I'm saying? Because I do. Okay, I might want to buy new wigs. You know what I'm saying? And all of that and stuff. And then, we're saving for vacations. All of this kind of stuff. That helps and contributes to my life. So that right there is saying a lot. But so anyway, like I said, I just wanted to stop in and just say hey and just touch bases again, because it's been a couple of days and everything. Let you know I'm still here. Okay, I really am. So everybody, thank you, so much for the people who showing up watching me and everything. And like I said, please like, comment, share, and give your love. Okay, so y'all have a great day, and y'all, it was really great talking to y'all. Bye.